Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us here on CBS News 24/7. I'm Lindsay Reiser. The economy is taking center stage at the White House today, where President Trump is set to host executives from some of the nation's top companies for an Investing in America event later this afternoon. Included in the list of attendees are the CEOs of NVIDIA, GE Aerospace, Johnson & Johnson, Eli Lilly, and SoftBank. The event is expected to highlight investments the companies have made in the U.S. during President Trump's second term in office thus far, and invite others to follow in their footsteps. The president met with his cabinet ahead of the event for a status report of his administration's progress over their first 100 days. When it comes to that rare minerals deal with Ukraine, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says the U.S. is, quote, ready to sign this afternoon if they are. He said the two sides came to an agreement this past weekend, but that Ukraine wanted to make last-minute changes last night. During the meeting, President Trump discussed his take on the negotiations.
We made a deal, and I assume they're going to honor the deal. And I put Scott in charge, and Scott's done it beautifully, but we haven't really seen the fruits of that deal yet. I suspect we will.
A new report shows the U.S. economy shrunk in the first quarter of 2025. According to the Bureau of Economic Analysis, the U.S.'s gross domestic product dropped 0.3% from January 1st through March 31st. It's the first time the economy shrank in the last 3 years. President Trump responded to the report, calling it, quote, Biden overhang, saying in part, this will take a while, has nothing to do with tariffs, only that he left us with bad numbers. But when the boom begins, it will be like no other. Be patient. CBS News White House and Politics Executive Director Fin Gómez is in Washington following this. Fin, I think viewers of CBS News will know that many of the economic indicators when Biden left the White House and Trump entered the White House were positive, other than inflation, of course. What is President Trump's evidence to support these claims? Or 100 days in, is this his economy and what we're seeing a result of his policies?
In a word, talking to some top economists and some other officials, I would say, in a word, what the evidence is showing here is that it is, yes, it is related to the tariffs, at least indirectly. Why do I say that? Well, specifically, even though the president and his administration has denied emphatically that this has anything to do with tariffs, that this is a Biden overhang, as you said. If you look at these GDP numbers, this slide, Lindsay, it's due in part because companies ahead of the tariffs increased imports, increased their supplies to get in front of the tariffs. And by doing so, that actually subtracts from the GDP. Imports always do. So that action was done because of the tariffs. So you could make a hard case that this reaction, this contraction is due to that, Lindsay.
What can you tell us about today's Investing in America event at the White House? And these companies may be touting American expansion, but do you expect they will bring up tariff policies when they have the ear of the president? I'm thinking chipmaker NVIDIA, whose stock has been a bit of a roller coaster since inauguration.
No, that's absolutely right. And for those who do follow the stock market, those who are invested in the stock market, know NVIDIA very, very well, because it was one of those really top stocks that people were investing in ahead of the administration. Now, yes, this event and these companies are primarily, it's going to be focused on the expansion and the increase of investment in the United States on defense, on tech, and on healthcare. But as you rightly highlighted, Lindsay, there has been a skittishness, if you will, amongst American companies because of the tariffs. Not all, but many have said that this impacts their business. And so therefore, I think it may not be within earshot of the press. It might be, but it will be, we expect, some pushback from CEOs of these companies to at least dictate, to at least describe how these tariffs are impacting their overall business.
What could you tell us about this rare minerals deal? Remind us what's at stake here and where we are at in negotiations.
What's at stake, Lindsay, is that it could directly affect the development of the eventual and hopeful peace deal with Ukraine and Russia that the United States is trying to coordinate to try the two sides to come together. Why do I say that specifically? And that's because the president himself has said that this critical mineral deal could increase their involvement, if you will, into Ukraine ahead of any other sort of militaristic involvement by or attacks by Russia. If they're there, if they're involved on the business side of this critical minerals, something that's so key across technology, it impacts telephones, it impacts space technology, laser-guided missiles. So if there's involvement, there's more, and the U.S. is getting more out of it. They are there physically, but it is essentially a precursor, Lindsay, to an overall deal. If they settle this, at least this is what the administration says. If they settle this, then they can eventually move on to the next step, which would come, as the president said, in the next weeks or so. However, I just wanted to emphasize one other thing is that Bessent in this cabinet meeting that just ended, he did say that that there has been some good movement on this deal, and it could come as early as this week.
Okay, Fin Gómez, thanks so much. CBS News Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady is here now. So let's go ahead and repeat some of the current president's claims, rather, that this is Biden overhang, talking about the latest GDP numbers, and has nothing to do with tariffs. Are those statements true?
No, they're not. I'm actually going to read you a quote from Peter Navarro's, his trade representative.
Who is one of the biggest proponents of tariff policy.
Exactly. He said, the great news, the surge in imports that was totally driven by the rest of the world trying to get their products in here before the tariffs took full hold. So the great news about that is that it's a one-shot deal. So what he's saying is, as Finn was saying, right, there was a surge in imports. There were a bunch of consumers and businesses trying to get those goods here before they cost more. And when you calculate GDP, imports drags on GDP. That makes the number go down, okay? When you are, as the U.S., buying more foreign goods than you are selling to those countries, that's a drag on GDP. So, yes, what Navarro was saying is true, that maybe next quarter, maybe the quarters in the future, you're going to see that reverse. And so this is a one-shot deal. But the fact that the president is saying that this has nothing to do with tariffs, even his own administration is saying that, yes, this does have to do with tariffs.
So where are we right now in the snapshot of the economy? We have our first negative GDP. Is that something that can be revised, that could, months down the road, we find actually be in positive territory? And what are you looking for in the next few weeks?
Okay, so yes, this is an estimate. We are going to get a couple of different revisions as the data becomes a little bit more clear. So yeah, this could get better. It could get worse. The thing that gave me heart was that when you strip out imports and exports and kind of all of those volatile things, and you just look at investment and spending in GDP, we like to call it core GDP, that actually rose 3.0%. So that does give me that's a silver lining for me, okay? So that when we don't have all of this volatility with imports, that could be good. Where I am concerned, though, is consumer spending only rose 1.8% in this quarter. It was 4% last quarter. So we've also been talking about consumer sentiment going down and consumer spending potentially going down. So if that continues to weaken, that's where I get a little bit nervous about what economic growth could look like.
I'm going to throw you a curveball. What kind of economy did President Trump inherit when he is saying that this is Biden overhang and that they inherited poor numbers?
So look, he inherited an inflation environment that was ticking up. That is tough. And there was a number in here where government spending, the way they calculate it, went down this quarter, whereas in the GDP numbers under Biden's administration, a lot of it was driven by government spending and consumer spending. So that is a fair point there. But otherwise, it was a healthy labor market. And most of this, what you are seeing today, is driven by that change in trade policy and all of the uncertainty that this is causing.
Okay, Kelly O'Grady, thank you.